Welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla and I am feeling a little erratic right now, but I do want to give you guys my February reading wrapped and my March TBR and just like chat about books for a little bit. Also talk about what I might be up to lately. So let's get into it. So I want to start with telling you guys what I read in February, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't remember. So I'm gonna check I'm like halfway between Goodreads and Fable. I'm still migrating. I don't have anything listed that I finished in February, which must mean my February is taking place on Fable. Oh, okay. So here's what I finished in February. I finished, of course they're over there. So I finished This Could Be Us by Chatty, which is the second book in the Skyline series, and I also finished 7 Days in June. I really don't remember what I rated these. I imagine that they were like 4 stars for me, but I don't even know if I rated them. I'm pretty sure I didn't, but for me, this was a 4-star read. I think this was also a 4-star read. I am in the middle of writing my first review, and so we can talk about those things later. I've been trying to write a review for every single book I finished this year. I have been completely unsuccessful, but that's fine. So those are the 2 that I finished. Did not finish anything else to my knowledge, but I did start Can't Get Enough on audio. I'm like, I don't know, 2-3 chapters. I'm 4 chapters in. I was going to buy it yesterday, and then I didn't want to spend the money, and then I forgot that I had like a bunch of Barnes & Noble points, and I should have just bought it because the book would have been like $3-4, something like that. And so I am gonna buy it because I would like to physically read it. Kennedy Ryan's books are very, very digestible for me, like kind of going back and forth. So if I want to read but I don't want to have to get into a book, it's easy to remember where you left off with those. And then if I want to listen to an audiobook while I'm driving or whatever, then it's really easy to do that as well. I'm starting to like, I can't remember the name of the guy, but the guy who narrates, just know that I am liking his voice. I was annoyed by him when I was listening to parts of the first book. What's it called? Before I Let Go. And now I'm like okay with it. He's starting to warm up to me, or I'm starting to warm up to him rather. What else did I do in February? I read from Black Poets. I read from Mother-in-Law Black. And I also started reading this biography that I found when I was at the library called Sojourner Truth, a biography. And it's one of those that is really well written. Like, it's a biography that feels like reading it feels more like creative nonfiction in a way. Like, it's just very readable. And I'm just looking up the guy who wrote it, because I have an inkling of who he may be, and I would just love to see a freaking picture of him. It doesn't matter. What I wanted to say was, you are in a precarious situation the way you're placed on these books. I'll just tell you that. My hair was doing a really cute thing, and now it's like not wanting to do it anymore, and it's kind of ruining my outfit. Anyway, I really like this biography. There are things that I am critical about. Like, I feel like biographies are supposed to be a bit removed from like judging in one way or another, because I think they're just supposed to be an unbiased account of information. And there have been just a couple of times where I was like, where he sort of validates the economic pressure that slave owners were facing, and like speaks through like how they, well, it's natural to want to expand your property. Like, and I felt like that was just a not necessary or valuable, in my opinion, thing to say in what had been a more or less unbiased account of, you know, what happened of history so far. And so like that was a little weird for me. I am gonna keep reading it because I'm genuinely enjoying the way the story of Sojourner Truth's life is being told, and it's like history in its most digestible state for me. And I really love history, and probably if you've watched any of like my videos when I talked about classics, you understand that I like history when it intersects with my classics. and so this is just another point of history that I feel like I need to learn and understand and grow in. And so I'm just happy to be reading this biography. I'm happy to have been able to do it at the library, or like read a lot of it at the library, because my library is such a cute, like it's such a cozy, relaxed vibe. So anyway, so that's what I read from in February. So we've got these guys, read from these, and I think there was another essay I was reading from. I'm trying to remember where I put it. I was reading Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny, just like the little pocket copy that I saw at Barnes & Noble. But that's February. So now I want to talk about March. And March is, I did also not, there was something else. Personal curriculum wise, I, towards the end of the month, got really obsessed with journaling. And it's not as though I've never journaled in my life. Like, I've been a person who journals in some form or fashion. I also consider writing poetry a form of journaling. I'm looking at my dogs because my big dog is sick and he's been like throwing up today, and I don't know what's going on with him. So yeah, I've been journaling, and I guess I wasn't calling it journaling because it's all in these different weird categories until like I have a workout log so that I can keep track of what I did last, and so that I know like what weight to start at, or how long I should like do my cardio this time or whatever, like, you know, just to have a place to pull data from. And I have a little place where I put my recipes. Like, I have a little box on my counter, but I also have a notebook because in the event that I want to go somewhere and cook somewhere else, I, you know, have this portable place that's sort of analog and kind of just works for my brain, helps me better remember things. And so I have that. And then I had a bullet journal, and I had a like work journal, you know, and I had a therapy place, and a place where I just put my thoughts, and a place where I just kind of put like a junk journal. Like, I had all of these different places, but I wasn't thinking of them in a cohesive way. And now I am, and this isn't that video, and so I'm not gonna go through the whole ecosystem or anything. But what I wanna say is I got a little obsessed with journals and making places to store the journals that I regularly use. And that was really just like a fun and creative thing for me, and I feel really good about it. And I got very obsessed. I do have like a tendency to slip into hyperfixations, whether it's like crochet, or whether it's reading a particular genre, or whether it is writing in a particular way. Like, I kind of go in and I follow my obsessions, and like that's just what I do. And right now I'm obsessed with journaling, but it's been 2 weeks, and so it's, you know, it's starting to settle down, which is great. And I always am interested to see what's left after I've like indulged my obsession for a little while. And I feel good about what's left in this case because it's just a better system for what I'm already doing. So that's that. Anyway, so I'm trying to decide if I should go right into what I'm doing for March, or if I should show you what I have bought lately, and I think I should show you what I bought first, because then you'll better understand maybe a couple of the things I might want to pick up in March. So I want to start with Barnes & Noble. The reason I have $15 to go and buy, I can't get enough. I got a couple of things, and one of these is from my friend. Name of the Wind. And I just heard that this was about a lot of like kind of angsty vibes, like unrequited angsty vibes, and I just wanted to get into something like that. I also have been craving getting into fantasy, and I got The Priory of the Orange Tree. I've been looking at this book for like 2 years. I've just been walking past it. It's so pretty, and I finally picked it up and read from it a little bit last week and decided that it was what I needed to make myself feel better. And so I got it, and it's pretty, but it's also really interesting, and I have been wanting to get into something kind of chunky, and so I got that. I also got For the Wolf, and for the same reason that I got the Samantha Shannon one, and I did tell you guys that when I had picked up the Bone season, I expected to love it because I loved the beginning of Priory so much, and it just didn't work for me, and I don't really know why. It just like was really boring and really, I almost want to say like metal sounding, and I know that that sounds weird, but I like soft, like ethereal kind of magic, and so sometimes sci-fi, which I think the Bone season is sci-fi, doesn't work for me, or like highly technical magic systems sometimes are tough for me. I like more like in-depth and kind of complex world building. Like I'll take that over a like more clinical, like mathematical, scientific way of seeing things. I think it's just the way my brain works. Anyway, so I also got For the Wolf, and I just heard it was good, and I really wanted to get into a retelling, and I have a few retellings, but I think I've like lent them to my sisters and stuff, and so I haven't read many retellings, and this just felt like a good time. So that's something I picked up. Those are the 3 that I picked up from Barnes, and then oh no, there's one more. I got the second Bake Shop book because I had read Meet Your Baker, which I think might be on the bookcase in my bedroom, and I really enjoyed that. I'm pretty sure I finished it. If I didn't finish it, I have like a chapter left, and I just like put it down because something else looked more interesting and I picked that up. But I did enjoy the reading experience, and I'd like to read another, and I think it would be a good way to like keep myself down regulated, which has kind of been a little bit of a struggle lately. But with being sick and kind of like working stuff, you know, like 8 months of like just doing contracts, and yeah, it's just been like weird and hard, and so I'm trying to find ways, which is probably why I'm so into journaling right now. I'm trying to find ways to naturally regulate my system so that I can, you know, and just like let life be life and still exist in life. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And then I went to Barnes and Nope, that was Barnes and Noble. And then I went to Kaboom Books with my husband, and he got me a couple of books, which was so nice. And I have the Shelley edition of the Everyman's like poetry collection, and so I got a couple more because I think it's an edition of poetry I like to collect. And so I got Zen poems, and I got art and artists, because these had a lot to do with like nature, and that's been really grounding for me lately, and also really beautiful. I find myself really drawn to nature in a lot of ways. And then also art and artist was just because I really enjoy ekphrastic poetry, and I wanted to find a way to give myself the gift of like experiencing art in multiple ways. And usually for ekphrastic poetry, it's like the artist is inspired by another form of art, and I just think it's a really great way to experience the art from a different vantage point, and then also from in a completely new way at the same time. So those were the 6 books I got, and the Kaboom boxes I mostly used Bookstore. They always have a great selection. Almost all of my Arden Shakespeare's, like the colorful ones up there at the top, those are the Shakespeare editions I collect, and all of those are from Kaboom. Except for maybe one that I got on like eBay or something. So now that we've talked about what I picked up, I want to talk to you about the books that I would like to read or touch this month for March. Okay, and so the first one that I have is a book that I got a couple months ago, and I have been waiting for the right time to read it. I knew I would read it in spring of winter, spring 2026, and so that is Stillborn by Guadalupe Natal. And I don't know, I'm just really excited about this one. The last book I read of hers was After the Winter, and I remember that book just like doing something to my brain, like just rearranging something in my brain. And I think that that's around the time that I also, maybe a year or two later, a couple years later, I felt the same way when I read Sally Rooney. But there are just certain books that tell a really honest story that makes people hard to look at, but you know you're looking at a real person. And I feel like that's when I realized how much I loved like literary fiction. And so I felt that way with On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I felt that way with most of Sally Rooney's work, but especially Normal People, and I talk about that all the time. And I felt that way with After the Winter, and I don't know that I felt exactly that way with anything else so far. And so I'm really excited to see if I can manufacture that feeling again, because I just want to really appreciate what I'm reading. And speaking of Sally Rooney, I really want to read Intermezzo. I've been excited to read this since it came out. I don't know why I haven't read it yet. I've read everything else in novel form that she's written, and so I'm excited to get into this. I think it's going to be another favorite of mine, and I am going to prioritize it for this month. This is where things get hard, because I'm gonna show you both of these books, but I'm not going to try and read both of them. Alone with You in the Ether and A Little Life. A Little Life may be one I prioritize. I know that I'm already reading like Intermezzo, and Intermezzo is, how chunky is it? So Intermezzo is almost 500 pages. A Little Life is like 700 pages. Did I get this from Kaboom? Because I have Kaboom bookmarks in here. I don't know. What I may do is start A Little Life but not endeavor to finish it, because I think that's insane. And Alone with You in the Ether, I don't know. I think I may save this again because I'm feeling really drawn toward A Little Life. So I may save this for another time. The other book I'd like to get into, do I want to? I feel like I need to read a fantasy. And if I'm going to read a fantasy, everything else is probably pretty quick-paced, fast-paced. Having trouble deciding between Priory and For the Wolf. And so I think I want to go, okay, I don't know. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably put a short out where I taste test For the Priory, and The Name of the Wind, so that I can decide which of those will be my fantasy read. But for sure, I'm going to do these. I'm also going to continue reading this until these will be my priority for March. So we've got finishing the biography of Sugar the Truth, we've got Intermezzo, we've got A Little Life, which we don't have to finish, we're just kind of getting it started. And then we've got Stillborn. And Stillborn will probably be the book that I start with in terms of these new guys. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll start with Intermezzo and then I'll fold it in like this. That way I'm not reading two giant chunkers back to back. I also often read multiple books at the same time, but usually I don't read across, usually I read across genres. I don't read the same genre all at the same time. And so I think I'll start here and here, and then I'll do my little short where I read from the three fantasies, and then I'll decide which ones of those joins this little TBR. But in the meantime, this is what we've got. This is the goal, and we'll see what happens. And what else is going on? I don't think there's anything else I really have to share in this exact moment, but I do want to say that I hope you are all having a good start to your reading year. It's still early in the year. I hope you're having a good time, a good start, and I hope that you are taking care of yourselves with all that's going on out there. That's another thing that I want to say. There's a lot going on out there, and it's really been hard for me to think about creating anything or reading anything. And I went down just so many rabbit holes. I'm gonna show you my screen time, because I'm gonna create a video about screen time next, because it's just out of control. Everything that's been going on out there in the world has been really hard for me. Today it's 11 o'clock and my screen time's already at 3 hours. It doesn't matter. My screen time was 13 hours for 3 weeks in a row, because I've been looking at the Epstein files. I have, and I've been looking at content concerning it. I've been consuming just all kinds of media. So then last week I stopped consuming that media and started only consuming like fluffy journaling vlogs, and just to heal myself, you know? But it was still the same problem, because I spent the same amount of time on social media trying to like undo what I had done the previous few weeks. And so I just want to say that I hope you're taking care of yourselves. I know that there's a lot happening right now in our country, and it's not fair. And I know that it's scary, and I feel that it's scary. And so take care of yourself and prioritize yourself, and you know, obviously care for others and do all of that, but think of yourself. And if that means you have to take a step back for whatever it is you're doing, take that step back and do what you need to do, and then come back when you want, and the world will be the people who care. they'll be there, they'll be waiting. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to ebb and flow as I need. So yeah, have such a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.